Hello, one and all. I know I look kind of scruffy today. This message wouldn't get out of my head, so I didn't shave. I didn't do anything quite yet. I always have that feeling, like, because I watch other people and they always look so pretty, and you can tell they did, like, their makeup or they got themselves ready before they went and did the video. And then I'm over here like, yo, that's cool and all, but I just woke up and I don't feel like shaving. In fact, this message has been floating around in my head for a few days now, possibly even a week. So we'll just we'll bypass the shaving for now. Little TMI. Now we'll actually talk about what we're supposed to talk about today. So this is a continuation of the G.A.T.E video. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, because that was just the initiation. Nobody talks about what goes on afterwards. So, brief description of the last video. If you haven't seen it, I'll try to remember to put the tag, the description link. But, really quick summary of the last video in case you haven't seen it. I am also a G.A.T.E child. I remember having certain experiences, being pulled out of class in middle school, all that fun stuff. Well, more information has been resurfacing, or surfacing. The experiment continues after middle school, high school. They essentially tag you. Kind of like they said there was chips inside of people. The issue is I have moles all over my body. They said if you have a mole on your left hand or your left arm or something, it was supposed to be a sign, but I have freckles fucking everywhere. However, on my right hand, I do have a small square of discoloration. I would have to shave my hand to see it. But essentially, they tag you, and they follow you beyond the experiment. So after middle school, high school, they test your potential, and they categorize you. There's more than, oh, it sucks. There's more than one test, you know. In fact, they categorize you based off the abilities you show. Like, again, I don't remember if I actually did the video, but there's a bunch of different clairvoyances or abilities, you could say. For instance, clairvoyance, the ability to see without your eyes. It's probably a really bad description, but like, that was the beginning of the G.A.T.E program, was astral projection or clairvoyance. Imagine like visualization in the mind to the degree that you actually see what's there and you're not just imagining it. So like say one of the stories I read was someone practicing their clairvoyance, and it's like, hey, his wife's talking to him and goes, hey, what's Andy doing? And he goes, they're sitting on the couch with his wife watching TV. He's like, really? Yeah. So the wife calls up the friend and goes, hey, what you doing? Oh, just watching a movie with my wife. They're like, damn. So those kind of abilities. So based off which ability or where you show growth and progress is how they categorize you and classify you and determine your value in their system. So again, depending on your abilities, whether you can move objects with your mind, whether you can see places that shouldn't exist, you can leave your body, you can influence others, you can influence yourself, you can read their minds. I mean, there's way more than just those. There's way more. But based off of those is how you get categorized, and then you get recruited. Or you either get recruited and you become a member or a unit, or you get tagged and you get studied and you're a lab rat for the rest of your life. Until they decide they don't need you. Now, they can't just necessarily kill you. I mean, sometimes they can make you disappear, but typically it's a lot harder and it's a lot more work. So what they do is they have a back door, almost, where they get you to forget. They program you to forget. The chemicals in our food messes up your brain circuitry and blocks the signals. So eventually they put us back to sleep so that we don't remember these psychic abilities and we don't have access to them. Because in that way, they don't have to deal with the lashback. Either you get recruited, or you get turned off and go back to sleep. Yeah, they lost control with me completely. I am outside of their, what do you call it? Manipulation range? I don't know. Basically, they've lost contamination with this unit. And I am now fully aware of the situation and what they did. To be honest, I'm kind of pissed. Because like I said, they still follow you. Let's go based off of a movie called... I've watched 2 movies that remind me of this scenario. One of them I just watched last night, which actually inspired this video. So one of the movies was Serenity. It's a movie made by Joss Whedon, the same guy back in the 90s who made Buffy and Angel, but the show was from Firefly. Serenity is the recap of Firefly. Now, I'm not going to give too many spoilers. I am going to give away the show, though. Which basically is the whole spoiler. Anyways, the show is about a crew on a ship that ends up taking a refuge or a fugitive who has psychic abilities. She is godly terrifying. Not just psychic abilities, her physical physique is that of a super warrior. They essentially, same thing as Stranger Things, they were building genetic super warriors. And this one got out. So she was basically running from the government for the rest of her life. Until the show got canceled. But it was so popular that the creator decided to give it a closing movie to wrap everything up. And in the movie, she activates fully. Like, in the beginning, it's just kind of, oh, I have these weird abilities, and I don't really know what's going on. In fact, they actually scrambled her brains. Like, she wasn't functioning. She would actually oscillate between a dream world and real world, and forget who she is. Are you listening to this? So eventually, at the end, something clicked. She threw up, and she goes, I remember everything. And then she got full access to her powers. How this happened was she was getting subliminal messages sent to her through encodings of TV shows, music, and media. There is a scene where she is at a bar, and she's watching a commercial, and she snaps and starts a bar fight, and basically takes out an entire bar by herself. 30 to 40 guys. And everyone's just like, what the fuck is she? Yo, you guys have to tell us what's going on right now. And the brother is like, oh, okay. Okay, it's time to tell you. She's psychic. She's psychic. And they're like, okay, what degree of psychic? Well, all of them. They're like, all of them. She has abilities that rival the highest genius kind of thing. And the government was keeping tabs on her, watching her, and activating her at certain moments. Same thing's been happening to me. I've been realizing it by going through shadow work in my childhood. So I've actually been healing myself and doing spiritual work. Like trying to heal my shadow and work on the hidden aspects of myself, basically. And in order to do that, I've been going through my memories. My chronologically. I've been trying to go back as far as I can remember and be like, alright, in this moment I was feeling this, and kind of sorting through my emotions. And there is relevancy, this gets to a point. It got to the point I started seeing patterns, and that's when the G.A.T.E program started resurfacing to me. Because I started remembering these patterns. Being pulled out of class, hearing these weird noises. Well, then I had also remembered those noises in the G.A.T.E program, that G.A.T.E software that you listen to. Those noises are replicated throughout media and history. Sorry, my camera is shaking. My AC is on and it's connected to my wheel. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's just... Even if I turn off my AC... Hold on. Okay, hopefully the shaking's a little bit better. Not really. We'll just deal with it. Anyways, so I've noticed that pattern. There's a specific sound frequency or a sequence of tones that you hear when you start the G.A.T.E program software. And I've realized that tone gets played throughout many different TV shows throughout the 80s and the 90s. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was one of them, a show I watched as a kid. Fuck it. You guys are just gonna have to deal with the vibrating. I'm sorry. I have my car on because it's warm outside and I don't want my windows down. But the stand is actually stuck on the... Anyways. Irrelevant information. I'm sorry, but that is actually kind of bugging me. We'll just turn off my car for a minute. Anyways, grounding, back on track. Oh, scratching my head. That was not as cool as I thought it'd be. Anyways. I'm getting kind of degrounded here. Trying to get back on message. So these signals were continuously being broadcasted to us, hinting the lab rat motif I was telling you about. As we continue to be the lab rat because they continue to study us inside reality and see how we function and how these abilities interact and kind of basically develop us psychically or psychologically. Because, for instance, nobody tells you you're psychic. If you're one of the people that are the lab rats, they don't tell you. You don't get to know. So, I'm over here as a kid talking to spirits and hearing voices in my head. I think I'm fucking crazy. Like, I legit, my parents are scared of me. They started playing games with me, like I said, I would hear voices calling my name. Either it's in my brain or sometimes it's in my ears. It's either clairvoyance or clairaudience. There's two different kinds. Sometimes it would actually be clairaudience. So I physically hear someone calling my name. And it sounds like my dad. And this is a regular ghost story. It's actually a mimic. So I would go out in the living room where everyone is. I'm like, what? They're like, what? It's like, you called my name. What do you want? And they're like, no, we didn't. It's like, yes, I heard your name. I heard my name. You said, Adam, come here. And they're like, no, we didn't. It's like, all right, whatever. And I'd go back to my room pissed. Well, eventually they turned it into a game where they actually would fake call my name. And they thought it was funny and it was a game. Well, I'm over here having a goddamn psychotic breakdown. Because I'm hearing voices in my head, outside of my head. I am seeing ghosts, I'm feeling ghosts. I'm feeling presences, entities. Okay, I can't do this, it is way too warm. Sorry guys. Just have to deal with the noise. I'll just get louder. Hopefully it's not that bad. Sorry. Anyways. If you want me to get a microphone, send me some fucking money. I don't have money at the moment to get me a microphone, so... I want to get one of those sound-reducing ones. In the near future. I'm just kidding, don't send me money. I will save up. I will eventually get a microphone. But for now, gonna have to deal with what I have. So... Growing up... Like I said, you get to a point where they try to shut you down if they don't plan on using you. Well, my powers wouldn't stop. Even after I thought I was psychotic, and that these things that were happening were not supposed to be happening, and there was something wrong with me, they continued. Like, I have story after story of just seeing creatures, meeting creatures, talking to creatures, interacting with them. I've had no one to tell about this, because everyone thinks I'm fucking crazy. Even when I find someone, oh yeah, haha, I talk to ghosts, and I was like, okay. One of the times I was at a public storage. Those who don't know, storage facilities are often haunted. They keep dead people's stuff, old stuff, so on and so forth. And one of the first buildings I went to, I was talking with one of my coworkers. She's like, oh, I love spoopy stuff too. In fact, this building's haunted. And I was like, oh yeah? She goes, yep. I was like, yo, I can feel ghosts. She goes, right. I was like, no, I can't. I can feel presences. She goes, okay, tell me what floor is haunted. It's like, alright, I'll take your game. There's 3 floors in the building, over 1,000 units. And they have actual physical paper maps out of the huge layout of the building. And so I went down and I grabbed the physical map after doing the lock check, which you physically walk around the entire property. You come back down, and I was talking to the lady, and she goes, "So, where is it?" I pull open a map, and I'm like, "Right here in the back corner of Unit 3. And she just, "Yeah, that's it. How'd you know?" It's like, "Well, it was cold as fuck. Elevation says the higher you go, the temperature raises, especially in a steel building that's kind of built like a cave. Some of the buildings are actually like swampy. The higher up in the storage unit you go, the hotter and muggier it gets. So when I'm on the 3rd floor, and I come across this random ass corner that's bone-chilling cold, pretty fucking obvious. So I even scare people when we talk about it. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, I talk to ghosts and spirits." I'm like, "Okay, well, how about this, and they're just like, no, I've never had that happen. It's like, but you, okay. In fact, some of my friends who are ex-friends, who also said, "Oh, I have psychic, and I see ghosts, blah, blah," like I said, one of the stories actually started freaking him the fuck out. Hanging out with me actually started making the ghosts appear more in his apartment. So it does make it difficult to make friends. I'm not gonna lie. Spoopy shit happens to be all the time, and they're just like, "What is going on? What is wrong with you?" It's like, nothing, actually. There's nothing. So back to that, the point of the movie was not that you have to develop and learn this stuff. We are all actually psychic inherently. It's just we are asleep and we don't know that. So what I'm doing is I'm not building myself up, is I'm stripping away my layers. That shadow work I was telling you about was revealing to me. It wasn't building up and it's like, "Oh, I want to develop the ability to have psychic, telekinesis. So I'm going to start from ground zero and learn to develop." No. It's something we all remember. It's just we forgot. It is all something we can do. We just don't try. Tarot cards are the beginning. Most people stop there. I have seen some videos of people using psi wheels and able to close doors and stuff like that. But that seems to be the extent of their power. Now, when I say this and I move forward, I physically can't prove any of this yet. Purely because I have very little to no control over it. It more or less just kind of happens in spurts. There are moments where I will hear people unintentionally. I'm crawling into bed and I just hear voices all over the place. And of course, one of my friends tried to convince me it was schizophrenia. They're like, "Well, how do you know it's not schizophrenia?" It's like, schizophrenia doesn't call out your name. He's like, "What?" I was like, "There are things calling out to me saying, 'Hey, Adam, come here. Hey, Adam, please help me. Hey, Adam. Hey, Adam.' Schizophrenia don't do that. It don't. And I know it's not my voice, either. Because I know there are those who have that inner voice and some who don't. Some people have a conscious mind thought, like inner monologue, and there are those that don't. Well, those voices did not match my inner monologue. So either it was a spirit, an entity up in heaven, an angel, or a person on the physical plane, or a dead person. I've also been able to talk to dead people. Kind of like the Sixth Sense. I didn't know that. So like I'm saying, I'm figuring all this stuff out without realizing it. Like one day how I figured that out was I had a tarot reader actually bring it forth and say, "Hey man, someone's been trying to contact you from the other side." I'm just like, "What?" So I watched the video and they're like, "Well, you didn't put, you're like receiving the message, but you don't understand what it is. You've been thinking about someone recently, someone from your past, someone you haven't thought of for years. And then, you may have actually just saw them out in public." I was like, yeah, I did. Because literally the day before that, I saw that person that I was thinking about. And I was like, oh, well, that's weird. The fact that she's living in my apartments 10 years apart. No. What a weird coincidence. Okay. Well, then I put two and two together, and it's like, no, that was her reaching out to you. It's like, hold on. I can talk to dead people. Wait a minute. My friend is dead. Wow. There are other abilities. Like I said, I tap into people's brains sometimes by accident. I don't mean to. I tap into people's emotions, empathy, empathic. That's one of the most common abilities everyone knows about, being able to feel other people's emotions. Well, like for instance, I'm sitting there at work and I'm perfectly fine, and then I just feel someone walk up to the door and I just turn bitter and angry and fucking salty. And I was like, yo, whoa, where'd this come from? Well, empaths don't realize that we're picking up other people's emotions, so all we know is our nervous system is getting flooded with emotions. So we think something is wrong with us, and that is when we lean into pills, anxiety meds, antidepressants, and it completely stops us from feeling anything ever. That's because people don't realize, and this is something I've had to learn, is discerning between my emotions and their emotions. If I'm in a neutral state, and my emotion just spikes out of nowhere without any stimulus, it's more or less somebody else's emotions. I'm picking up on somebody else. It's just we don't know that. We're just getting hit with a random surge of emotion. We're like, what the fuck? I see this in my sister. She doesn't realize it. So, because she's my sister, we're also closely related. I'm sure she's got awakened to some psychic abilities that she didn't want. Possibly doesn't even know she has. So it's not an ability of learning, it's an ability of remembering. Because as I peel away these things, like I said, these abilities are actually spontaneously happening. I'm not actively trying some days. There are other days, though, and this is why I can't prove it. I can't prove anything I'm saying. I will try to factor in a side wheel video, but I mean, everyone does those, it's not... I still don't have super great grasp on my telekinesis yet. I'm still working on it. And in fact, there may be videos that I will explain how I got to this point, got to this knowledge, and I've been increasing myself. Because like I said, it goes beyond just those basic low tier, is what I'm going to call it, low tier abilities. Alright, Fear. I'm scared to talk about this stuff because, like I said, people think I'm absolutely crazy and nobody believes me. It's not that I need you to believe me, I just don't want to get locked up in a loony bin. One of the abilities I've been developing is talking to animals, like Dr. Dolittle. Animals are a lot more intelligent than we think. In fact, all animals are intelligent. So humans who think animals are stupid themselves. Fucking idiots. All animals are intelligent. How I know this is because they talk to me. I don't fucking care anymore how crazy this sounds. I'm just gonna say it, okay? It started with talking to squirrels. There was one day I was walking through a park, and there was this really cool archway of trees, and I wanted to walk under it, but I noticed there was a squirrel sitting right in the middle of it, eating some lunch or breakfast. And I just had this initial instinct, like, I didn't want to interrupt his lunch. So I look up, I'm like, hey man, and I actually did this, like, I'm not paraphrasing. I looked up and I spoke to the squirrel and said, hey, I don't want to interrupt your food. I'm just trying to walk through. Is it okay? Now, this is where it gets really interesting, that you have to realize the animals are talking to you, is by learning energy, frequencies, and subtle language. Movement is also language, like sign language. For instance, if I stick up my middle finger, You know exactly what I'm trying to say without saying anything, without having to use my voice. So realizing that dance, movement, it's also language. It's a form of communication. So when I say animals talk to me, sometimes they do physically talk in a voice, sometimes it's movement. So when I asked this squirrel if I had permission to pass under, the squirrel's tail went flip, flip, flip. So, was that a response to what I asked? Just to make sure, let's ask again. Mr. Squirrel, I'm not entirely sure, was that a yes? Flip, flip, flip. I go, okay. And I walked under the braes, and the squirrel literally stops. It's just like, I can't explain it, but the squirrel was confused. It was confused how I was talking to it. I felt confusion from the squirrel. Another time, I'm sitting here just like this in my car, and I noticed something green moving on my lap, and I'm like, what the fuck? I kid you not, it looked like a caterpie. It was not even 2 millimeters high, maybe centimeters, 2-3 centimeters high. Very, very tiny. In fact, I didn't notice it, but it would look like a caterpillar, and it's moving around. And my first instinct was to flick it off my pants. And I heard, no, please don't. I'm like, okay. So I'm not really comfortable touching bugs. So I took a piece of paper and kind of scooped it up and just kind of like put it on my chair next to me. And said, okay, kind of just go away. And then one of those moments later, I turn and it's staring at me. And it's like, literally looking right up at me. I go, what? What do you want? And I hear, please take me outside. It's like, what? It's like, please take me outside. I would like to get outside. Okay. So I pulled over at the nearest gas station after thoroughly convincing myself it was happening. Because I almost drove past the gas station. I'm like, no, this is not happening. And then I had the instinct to pull over, let it out. I go, okay. Fuck, this is crazy. So I take the same piece of paper, I scooped up the caterpillar, I walked outside, and I set it on the ground, and I let it scoop off of it. And as I'm leaving, I hear, thank you. It's like, okay, I'm talking to bugs now. The fuck? However, if you don't believe me yet, this one was legit, and it actually scared my sister. But I'll tell you that one in a second. We'll talk about the other examples. There was one time, a horse told me it was going to bite me. Yeah. I wanted to pet some horses, because, I'm in Texas. Big surprise. And we still have ranches. So, I'm driving down a city, and all of a sudden there's just this one random ranch that has horses. So one day I pulled over and I walked up to the fence, and I wanted to pet them. One of them was scared of me. One of them didn't give a shit and was just trying to eat its food. So I kept trying to pet the one that was scared of me. The language, I could see his ears went back, its eyes got slit, and it's just kind of like, eh. Well, it let me reach out and touch its chin. Just kind of backed away. I'm like, all right, I can tell it's scared. Well, I also as I was leaving, I wanted to pet it one more time, and I was actually going to do this, where I put my hand up against the side of its cheek, trying to push the boundaries a little more. And I had this image of the horse nipping at my elbow and trying to get me to stop, and I just kind of... So, I have a feeling if I touch this horse, it's going to bite me. Let's not get bit. So I left. Another time, there was a spider in my apartment. Big surprise. But it was one of those weird random moments I just happened to look over, and it's right the fuck there. I'm just like, you got really big long legs, but you don't have the color pattern of a daddy long legs. What the fuck are you? I don't like you. Please get out of my apartment. And it just stood there. It's like, okay. Well, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to hurt you. I'm just a little uncomfortable with spiders in my apartment. So I'm going to take you and put you outside. And I saw it literally. It bounced up and down. I go, well, you're a little bouncy fellow. Alright. So I put it in a Tupperware container, slipped a piece of paper under it, and put that piece of paper outside. Literally laying there at night thinking about it. I sat straight up in bed. I go, the spider wasn't dancing, it was talking to me. Huh. Okay. Weird. I'm gonna go back to bed now. But this one takes the cake. I was over at my sister's house, and she runs a dog care facility. A in-home dog care facility. What I mean is, she actually runs a boarding house. So she lives there, but she also uses the house to take care of the animals. So one of the days, one of the dogs, I was sitting outside with my sister, and she was letting it take a potty break. And the dog was over getting love and pets from me, and I'm petting it and touching it, and well, finally I'm like, all right, it feels like my sister's getting anxious. She wants the dog to go to the bathroom. I don't know what compelled me. And I'm like, all right, I think her name was Rose. So I'm like, all right, Rose. For some reason I pointed, and I go, all right, go to the bathroom. Go ahead and go to the bathroom. And even my sister watched and noticed. The dog literally walked over to where I pointed and peed. And my sister literally just... He's like, it peed in the exact spot where Adam pointed and told it to. So even my sister's like, okay, this isn't normal. Now she's partially scared of me. I will give you a small detail on how I've been figuring this stuff out, and it triggered in the movie I watched last night called Lucy. That was me following my intuition. Because at some point, I had realized the G.A.T.E program stopped pushing me. I feel like they kind of let me go, and they were trying to leave me alone, trying not to develop me any further. Because sometimes, they continue to poke and test their test subjects with external stimulus. Like, for instance, here's a scenario that would test my intuition. Here's a scenario that could test if I could read energies. Here's a scenario to see if I can tell what people are thinking. Well, at some point, they stopped. I kind of shut down, and I said, I'm done. Well, eventually, I gave up and said, okay. As my psychic abilities keep opening up, I had realized that's what was going on. I started doing the research myself. And I picked up, essentially, where they left off. And I started inducing my own psychosis. How? Well, watch the movie Lucy. Using more of your brain. The reason we can only use 10% of our brain is because the amount of fucking chemicals they're pouring into us. Humans used to be able to use all their brains. All of it. So, the chemicals we imbibe, the chemicals we take in, the music we listen to, it blocks us. It prevents us. And that's why people can't actually do this. Why people typically can't use their psychic abilities. It's not that they don't have the ability, it's they don't remember. And there's chemicals in their body that are blocking it. So if you watch the movie Lucy, she specifically, and I'm going to spoil it, she specifically ended up having a drug-induced psychosis. A drug which also is possible. This also happens. Sometimes instead of letting the body develop naturally, they amplify it with DMT. And which is a very high dosage of psychotropic chemical. I don't know. But it's got a specific chemical compound that tends to reopen fragments of your brain. Same thing with psilocybin and mushrooms. So once I realized that, I started down my own path, and I started activating more of my brain. And we started pushing it more, beyond 10%. But then I became unstable and hit a snag. Well, I was not focusing on my body at all. And as the Lucy movie predicted or showed, her body started deteriorating. It could not keep up with the amount of ability and energy that she was absorbing, and her body actually started to decompose. In fact, she lost her life within 2 days, only because she was able to extend her life. But she even realized her body was burning out and she was going to die because of how fast her body was changing and learning. Her body could not keep up with her mind, and the two systems clashed and degraded. So in order to push my abilities further, I now have to focus on my body and learning my nervous system, because now, let's go back to that whole brain thing where I was telling you I'm hearing voices. Well, now you take all that noise after clearing out your brain and you start filtering it and being like, okay, well, for instance, like one time I was laying in bed and I feel myself start drifting off and I hear, Adam, help me. I'm just like, nah, fine, all right, what do you want? And then a completely different conversation switch and I hear, all right, tonight for dinner, what do you want? I don't know, what do you want? Well, I mean, we can make meatloaf, it's really cheap and simple. And I'm just like, this is not the same conversation. What just happened? It's like I switched channels or something. So now that I realize this is what's going on, I essentially am going back and, well, kind of like the movie said, I'm colonizing my brain. I'm realizing, okay, well, I'm receiving 3 different messages on 3 different channels, and it's all just being compressed as one giant noise. So what I'm going to do inside my brain is I'm going to separate the channels into 3 channels. That way, there's less static, less interference, and I can actually kind of read each frequency like a message and see what the hell I'm picking up. And being able to tell between the frequencies so that I'm not going fucking crazy. I could honestly keep talking on this video forever. But the deal is, as I progress, I will start releasing more and more. Like I said, once I actually learn to start controlling, or not necessarily controlling, it's not the right word. The way Lucy described it is realizing the fluidity of the reality around you. Essentially frequencies, noise, even matter itself, not necessarily break down into fluid, but become as fluid as water. Essentially what that means is you're able to manipulate energy to a point that even solid mass is as malleable as water. Because in truth it is. It's just now we actually physically know how to manipulate it. Go and watch the movie Lucy. It'll give you a bunch of insight. I finally sat down and watched that movie. And that was actually one of those intuitive hits. I'm literally laying in bed, kind of depressed, I'm having a hard day, and instantly the voice in my head goes, I want to watch a movie. It's like, okay. What movie? Lucy. It's like, that was random as fuck. Okay. So I went and found it on a streaming service and I queued it up and I watched it. I'm just like, after I had that, after I watched that movie, it was kind of like one of those energetic codes like I was telling you about. It felt like I got activated or something. And after that movie, I had a new sense of clarity. I'm just like, I need to go to bed now because I'm getting an anxiety attack. Anytime my brain or I tend to expand, I have a small anxiety attack because my nervous system is still trying to regulate it. It's not used to the influx of energy and signals I'm receiving. In the movie Lucy, she essentially shuts down. Her body basically shuts down, so she doesn't feel the same synaptic relays that I do. She lost all emotion. She realized her brain was frying, but she didn't care. I'm over here, still feeling emotions and my nervous system's on fire. Telling me, hey, you're being overloaded. Ah! She didn't get that. So I'm over here not knowing what's going on, my nervous system's being overloaded. So now I'm retraining my nervous system. I make it sound like it's all fun and games, and I mean, what kid doesn't imagine they want to have superpowers growing up? But now that I'm actually getting my superpowers, it is even scaring me. To be honest with you, it got to a point where I was no longer scared of physical entities or demons infesting my brain. I became scared of myself. Even manifesting. Manifesting is a psychic power, in a sense. And that has also been doubling for me as well. Simple scenarios like I've actually made money appear out of nowhere, but it's been inconsistent and I don't know how I'm doing it. For one time, like, I prayed. Oftentimes it's prayer, or it's me sending out a signal to the universe through prayer. One time I'm like, God, I fucked up. I spent too much money. I'm gonna go out and DoorDash and I'm gonna make the difference. But I can tell right now, you and my body are saying not to. But Lord, I'm scared I fucked up. Like I said, I feel like if I don't make another $20, something is going to happen. It's like, whatever, I'm just gonna go out and DoorDash anyways. And as I'm literally getting in my car, I instinctively checked my bank account to see if I could put in gas money. And lo and behold, the $20 hit my account. And I'm literally like, okay, I guess I'm going back to bed now. Because that was the agreement. Yeah, I got $20. And it's not like I'm bargaining with God. It's just like, oh, well, you held up your end of the bargain, so I guess I'll go take a nap. That's not the first time. It's not the last time. Pretty recently, even silly stuff I perceive as silly. I was at a half-price books, and there was a tarot deck that was calling my name, but I didn't have the money in my account. I had like $10. So I'm like, Lord, I'm a little confused. This tarot deck is calling my name. I know it's supposed to come home with me. And I've had money appear in my account before. So can I didn't ask. I'm like, alright, look. If this is meant to be, and these are actually words I'm using, it's like, alright, if it's meant to be, let the money appear. If I'm supposed to bring home this deck, let the money appear. I check my bank account. Nothing. I'm just like, well, okay. I let it go. I'm like, I guess that's that. And as I'm lowering my phone, I follow the gaze, and I see the corner of a half-price books gift card. I'm just like, I pick it up, and on the back it says there's $25. I'm just like, nah, it's probably empty. I get up to the front register, scan it, and he goes, yeah, there's $25 flat. I go, what? It's like, there's $25 on the gift card. I'll be right back. I run out, grab the deck, come back, and I purchase it in that moment. Funny enough, though, I went and then I tried to manifest $1,000. I was like, well, okay, if money is literally dropping out of the sky, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000. Well, it didn't work. Not the way I thought it would. Honestly, as of this point, I honestly was going to blow off my taxes. Life has been kind of hectic. I literally I'm a week away from moving out of my apartment and not sure where I'm going. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck my taxes. I don't even care anymore. My life's falling apart. Well, the voice in my head goes, do your taxes. What? Do your taxes. It's like, do my taxes. Do your taxes. Fine. I sit down, go through the arduous task of doing my taxes. And now the reason this is significant is because I've worked at the same company for 3 to 4 years, and even after doing my appropriate W-2, pretty sure the manager was stealing our taxes, and he was lying about it, committing tax fraud. Because all of a sudden, now I don't have a job, and I did my tax refund, it was $1,000. $1,000. For the past 4 years, I've been getting nothing. I have not been having to pay in or pay out. This year, $1,000. So I'm like, okay, thank you. Thank you! Thank you for the money! But there are limitations. Like I said, I still haven't consistently figured it out. I don't just have $10,000 in my account. You know? So as I grow and I expand, I will document more of this and I will start explaining how to move forward. But first, I want to actually know what the fuck I'm saying before I tell you guys. That way I'm not misleading you and giving you bad information. Okay, that was it. I feel the ending of the message now. This wasn't scripted either. I normally like to plan out scripts for these kind, but this was a intuitive message. There's two differences I'm gonna say. One's a channeled message and one is a inspired message. Channeled messages are me directly taking energy or channeling, like say if I were to sit here and say, okay, I'm going to open up myself to spirit. God, if there's a message you want to say, go ahead and say it. And then they use my mouth to channel the energy. Although there is a second level of channeling that I believe I've been doing it. We'll talk about that later. But then there's also a message that's inspired action or inspired message. Where it's all of a sudden an idea pops in my head to do the video out of nowhere. It's like, hey, you should do a video on your nervous system. It's like, okay. And I actually sit down and I write out a lesson plan. I plan out what I want to say. Sometimes, though, raw dogging it's just as good. And I just saw 555 on the timer, so if that's for anyone, I know it's for me. Is that it? Are we done? Okay. So I guess, I'm gonna go to Walmart. Whatever. Oh, you know, there's Target right behind me. Let's see if Target has it. Anyways, you all have a good rest of your day. For more detail, there is a Discord that is magic-based. I normally typically put it in my description. I would genuinely like to start a community. A genuine community. Because I don't have anyone to show me how to do this. I have not. There was one instance when I actually did have a shaman kind of help me out. He grounded me, but he's also like, hey man, so you're picking up people's thoughts and feelings and all that stuff, aren't you? I was like, yeah. I didn't even have to say anything. He just looks at me and goes, you're really sensitive, aren't you? I was like, yep. He goes, oh. Well, let's train you how to kind of not desensitize yourself, but like turn it off. There are energetic feelers, essentially antennas, physical two antennas. One is for receiving, one is for broadcasting. Energetic antennas that stick out of our head that we call feelers. Well, he had me actually physically imagine pulling the feelers back into my head. And at that point, everything just kind of stopped. I was like, it got quiet. He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, apparently I'm gonna have to remember this tactic for later. So, I mean, there are people out there who are aware of these abilities, but I have yet to meet a mentor to teach me how to do it. I know there is one coming in, but not yet. Okay, I think I've officially touched on all the topics I wanted to touch on. Because sometimes this stuff loops in my brain until I finally do the message. And the reason I write it down is to structure it out so I don't forget stuff. But, whatever. So this time, I think I've officially got everything out. Lord, is there anything else? Spirit, God, whatever. No, just silence. Okay, so I'm done. I'm done. 50 minutes later. Y'all have a great day.